Well, good morning, people. Thank you very much indeed for joining us today on your Source FM Thursday morning breakfast show with my co-presenter, Sam. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing very well, sir. How are you doing this morning?
Yeah, fine, thank you. You're fresh from an early morning lab session, I believe, aren't you?
Yeah, I came straight from the lab. That's how dedicated I am to both this show and science.
Yeah. That is dedication, sir. We're very, very impressed. Now, yeah, I've got another special show lined up for you. Thank you very much for joining me today. Hope you're well. Yeah, the weather isn't very nice today, so do watch out on the roads. But I have the pleasure of introducing a number of very, very special guests this morning. Now, first up, actually today, we have Professor Helen Roy, MBE. I'm delighted to introduce Helen. Chatted to her the other day, actually. She recently visited our campus, our university campus here in Penryn. Now, she was actually recognised in the New Year Honours List 2018 with the award of MBE, of course, for her outstanding service to biodiversity research, citizen science and science communication. So I thought she was visiting. It would be silly not to grab her. Luckily, she agreed, so that's fantastic. We have her speaking about citizen science and her work on ladybirds, actually. So we'll be hearing from her first up this morning. Absolutely delighted to welcome you, so thank you very much, Helen. Welcome to the show, and I hope you guys listening, hope you're going to enjoy that. It's really brilliant. She's going to be talking about how everybody can get involved with science, citizen science. Absolutely fantastic. Next up, then, we've got another absolutely fantastic person, a great gentleman, Ian Logie-Baird. Now, Ian, he's actually the grandson of John Logie-Baird, who actually is widely known as the inventor of television. Okay, so he's one of the pioneers of the mechanical television, which of course precedes televisions which we're now used to. So absolutely fantastic to have this chap on the show. What a family legacy that is, Sam. That's pretty impressive, isn't it? Basically inventing the TV. So he's got some stories about his grandfather and when they were first kind of demonstrating the TV. Actually, John, his grandfather, was actually the first person to publicly demonstrate a televised silhouette in motion. Okay, so this really was the birth of the television. This was actually at Selfridges department store in London, strangely. Yeah. So we'll be hearing about that. We'll be hearing about his... anything. Yeah, exactly.
So Selfridges, if you're listening, send all those chocolatey goodness that you sell.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. We'll be... I mean, if we have to receive them, fine.
For the public good.
Yeah. For the greater good.
It's like television, this show, isn't it? It's like inventing television.
It is, in a way, actually, yeah. I mean, we'll chat. We'll hear more about that. We're chatting to Ian anyway. Going to hear a bit of a story as well about this silhouette that was first televised. I don't know if you know the story, Sam, but basically, I won't say too much, okay? But basically, a dummy is involved, okay? Ventriloquist dummy. Sounds a bit spooky. Looks a bit spooky as well, actually. This dummy. I'm wondering whether there's some inspiration there for, Night of the Living Dummy and things like that. I don't know. We'll find out. Can't be getting silly this early, mate.
No,
we've already decided.
I thought you said we had to be a slick show today.
Let's press on, shall we?
Yeah. Seamlessly.
Yes, this really is the definition of seamless, isn't it? It's fantastic. Next up, after Ian. Delighted to introduce Nick Hewer to the show, as I'm sure we all know Nick, right? Advisor on The Apprentice, recently the Countdown presenter, so fantastic to have Nick on the show. He's got his money hat on again, and he's actually working on behalf of the Financial Conduct Authority. He's got basically a warning for us about the rise of online investment trading and how some of this can actually effectively just be gambling, and he's basically got a way that you can actually check particular deals if you are interested in this kind of thing, and if you've seen these kind of offers. He's going to tell us how you can actually check with the Conduct Authority whether these deals and whether the companies that you use are actually legitimate, and to basically avoid being scammed. So he's going to be talking to us about that. I'm sure we've all come across Bitcoin before. That's really, really big in the news at the moment. Of course, he's got warnings about particular deals to do with Bitcoin. You've just got to watch out for. Okay, and binary options, which before talking to Nick, I actually gonna have to own up. I had no idea what that meant. Luckily, he explains them.
Ones and zeros.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, yeah,
covers it, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think you got it actually. In fact, we don't need to play Nick, do we, really?
No.
We've got it covered.
He is a celebrity, so he probably should.
Yeah, we'll pop him on.
Come on. I've covered it, but just for a bit more detail.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, people might not have tuned in yet as well, so in case people need a refresher. Okay, so yes, already a bit of a packed show. We do, of course, have this marvellous special guest as well, who we were talking about last time, actually, Susie Chan, endurance runner. She set the record for distance running 12 hours on a treadmill. We were talking about dedication. That is also dedication, isn't it?
Fair play.
Yeah, so that's impressive. So we've got Susie on the show to chat to us as well. She's talking about her use of Strava as well. I did reach out to Dan again, Sam. Do you know what he said?
What did he say?
Well, I basically said, so Dan, you were telling me about, he wrote this code, okay, for, as we know, he's an excellent coder on the stats program R, okay, so he's a bit of a wizard. We call him a wizard with a capital R, right, because that's for R. Yeah. Great joke.
Clever.
Funny that.
Doesn't work said out loud, does it?
No, I realised as I was saying it, what am I... Yeah. Anyway, so he actually wrote this code, right, to download his information from his app, Strava, nice. And then he could, tabulate and put graphs out, and I actually told Susie about that. She thought it was hilarious and great. But then I reached out to comment from Dan. He was like, "Oh no, sorry mate, code's not available." I was like, "But mate, I'm looking at it. I had the browser open right on the page where the code was." Yeah. He's like, "No, it's not available, mate." It's like, "But Dan, here it is. I copied and pasted the link." It's like, "Nah, it's not available."
Has he put it in the private domain now?
Well, no, I think it is available. He was just coming with excuses to why he didn't have to come on the show. So Dan, if you're listening, mate, don't be shy. Just tell you what, give us a text, give us a message, or call us. Okay, Dan, if you're listening, and if for some bizarre reason you now feel that you should comment, because you definitely should. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, maybe we should just give him a call a bit later if we've got time. Yeah, we'll give him a call.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, fantastic. And then if we do have time, we also have one final very, very special guest indeed. And if we don't fit this all in, we will, of course, play more next week. So don't worry, we won't be missing out any of this. Really delighted to introduce all of these guests. So, yeah, we're not going to miss any of them. So if there's a section that I've mentioned now and we don't get around to playing it, we will play it next Thursday, okay? So don't worry. But this final guest, Jeffrey Dennis, he's the CEO of Sparna, and this is an animal protection society. And he's actually got quite a distressing message, actually, about a particular issue which I wasn't aware of, to do with donkeys, okay? And he'll be telling us a little bit about that later on. But for now then, let us kick off. And I'd really like to, as I said, return to this first very special guest that I introduced, Helen Roy, Professor Helen Roy. Massive welcome to you, Helen, and thank you again for coming on the show. And one final time, congratulations on your MBE. That really is fantastic and thoroughly well deserved, as I'm sure everybody will agree. If you haven't come across Helen, I do urge you, just Google her as we're listening to her now. Absolutely fantastic researcher and scientist. So welcome to the show, Helen.
Citizen science really combines excellent engagement in science with real science, and I think it's just a fantastic way to get people involved with science. And it's fantastic for the scientists as well, because they get lots of questions back to them, challenges around their ideas and their thinking and the directions they might be going in. So it really becomes community science, and that's tremendously exciting and a wonderful way to convey scientific ideas and learn things together. I really enjoy that social side of science, and I think that's a great thing about it too, because I think perhaps if you asked a school child to think about a typical scientist, they might think of someone working on their own in a lab coat, and actually science is so sociable and so creative, and I think citizen science allows you to get those aspects across.
I think it's a wonderful idea for people as well. As you're saying, it's a very social thing. First of all, it's brilliant to dispel those myths, I think, but also I think it's wonderful for people to just think that, even if they don't necessarily come from a technical background, haven't really thought about being involved with science before, but you can be involved with science. Everyone can contribute. I think that's a wonderful idea for people.
Yeah, absolutely. And people come up with the most amazing ideas of their own. Some people only want to maybe make one record of a ladybird, for instance, and that's absolutely great. Other people will begin to ask questions that they can answer on their doorstep, and suddenly realising how accessible science is to people. It's just great.
And coming back to the kind of ladybirds thing, 'cause this has been ongoing for quite a while, hasn't it? You've received tons of data from citizen scientists across the UK. And you've actually been tracking, and basically you're interested in invasive species of ladybird, aren't you? The harlequin ladybird, I believe.
Yes.
Is that still going on? Can people still be involved with this kind of thing?
Absolutely. And it's a survey that was set up actually in the early 1970s, so before all the internet technology that we now have the advantage of using. And it was very much a scheme that was run for people who were sort of amateur experts, so-called, in entomology and studying beetles or ladybirds, in particular in this case. But it was really the arrival of the Harlequin ladybird in 2004 where we saw there was this opportunity to turn this survey into something much, much bigger, and for people to track the invasion of the Harlequin ladybird. We knew there was nothing we could do about this invasion, about this invasive non-native species, and we knew that it potentially posed a threat to some of our native species. And we thought this is a great opportunity to communicate more about invasion ecology, but actually create this amazing data set together, and that's what's happened. And it's a partnership of thousands and thousands of people. I think at our last count, it's like 19,000 people have contributed. That's amazing.
That's fantastic, and it really comes back to your point about citizen science at the beginning. Just think how social that is. That is by definition the most social thing you can do, to be involved with this, with science. And I think as well, just that fact about the ladybirds themselves, that's probably quite interesting for people to begin thinking. If they start thinking about this, they can think about ecology kind of in a wider sense and think, actually, of course, so you've got this ladybird, and maybe to start with you might not necessarily recognise, oh, hang on, this doesn't belong here, sort of thing, or this isn't originating from here. And I think it's quite nice for people to begin thinking about that, because of course it's a very connected ecosystem, isn't it? And I think people don't really, maybe they don't consider that to start with. They just think, oh, it's a ladybird, what's wrong with a ladybird? I thought they were good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think as well, ladybirds, people are quite familiar with ladybirds, so it's a comfortable subject area to get involved with. But then I think what's exciting is they begin to realise that they thought they knew about ladybirds, but then there's suddenly so much more that they can find out. And then they realise that even people who've studied ladybirds for decades still have an awful lot of things to find out, and then we can start to find those things out together. And it's about, as well, the idea that the Harlequin ladybird, we don't know exactly what it's going to do in the long term to our native wildlife, but we can find that out together, and then we can begin to learn lessons that have application to other non-native species. So, for example, the Asian hornet, which is a species that we predicted would arrive in the UK, and so there was a potential to put together good and effective surveillance systems and methods and some action if it was detected, for instance. And because people had contributed so wonderfully and enthusiastically to tracking the spread of the Harlequin ladybird, we knew that they could do this. We knew that we could work on the surveillance together, and that's what's happened. So the first record of the Asian hornet was in Gloucestershire in 2016, and people were amazing in their response of sending in records, which happened not to be the Asian hornet. They happened to be the European hornets, but people were out looking for them and sending us the observations, and that was really useful intelligence then for the people on the ground to be able to track down that one nest that could be eradicated. And similarly in 2017, when a nest was found in Devon, and similarly people were just brilliant at making sure they checked around to see whether or not there were any other Asian hornets in the area or indeed across the country, and that's what we need.
Yeah, I mean, it really sounds incredible. I mean, it really sounds like the way forward, because I mean, if you imagine just if you took a kind of core team of scientists, there just simply aren't enough people in that team to cover such a wide area, and you can just recruit, people who are already there, I suppose. This is the whole idea. Fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And often people's connections to their communities and their interest, and they might have the time. It might be that when they're out walking their dog or doing something else. But yeah, I think by us all working together, then we can solve many conservation issues.
So how can people get involved now? I suppose the first step would just be to, if you Google the UK Ladybird Survey, you get lots of information. You get the website, and of course you're very active on Twitter as well, so people can kind of find out what you're up to there as well. Yeah,
so we have a smartphone app which is free to download called I Record Ladybirds. So that's a really good way for people to get started, and it's got a field guide within it for all the other species of ladybird.
Fantastic.
And for all the conspicuous ladybirds, and so they can get involved that way. But then also, they can follow the survey by following on Twitter, for instance. And I think that feedback part is really important. And I love it. I love the discussions that take place on Twitter, and feel that, if I have a day in the office, I can still connect with ladybirds myself by other people being out and about and sending in their sightings. And sometimes the field season will go on and I haven't seen some particular species myself, but I've been seeing other people have been seeing them, and it's a really great joy to share that. So Twitter's really great in that way. But Yeah, we do have a website, and we do try and publicise through radio interviews, and any opportunities we ever get given to talk about it, we take them.
Well, fantastic. Well, thank you very much indeed for your time today, Helen. I won't keep you too much longer, so don't worry. I'm going to ask you a very important question at this stage, and that is, and it's on record now as well, but would you like a song choice for the show? That's a very important question. Do you have any songs off the top of your head? It might not be fair because it's been sprung upon you.
Yeah, no, but let me really think.
Especially if you think you've got some sort of, I don't know, theme tune that people can go along to.
What a really great idea. And I'll probably show how on call I am by not now thinking of something.
Oh, no. That is
immediately.
not a problem.
What song choice would I have? I think I'd probably choose a Belle and Sebastian song.
Okay, excellent.
Take your pick of a Belle and Sebastian song, and they're all great.
Excellent. Okay, well that'd be brilliant. People can listen to that as they're going outside as well, having a look around using the app, of course.
Yes, indeed. What a fantastic question. That put me on the spot.
Yeah, probably the hardest question yet.
Yeah, I think it possibly was the hardest question I've ever had.
Well, Helen, thank you very much indeed for your time.
Absolutely.
I'll just give you a chance actually, if there's anything at all that you would like to mention or get out there at all very briefly for any listeners of the source, anything like that at all that you can think of. I mean, I've obviously asked you questions, but
yeah, well, I would just say send in your ladybird sightings, and then think about other things that you might like to go out and record, and questions that you might like to ask about other things that you might find in your garden or out and about. And nature is so wonderful, and connecting with it is incredibly therapeutic.
And I think it's fantastic to remember as well that, as you're saying, people's interest in things, this kind of thing, can actually lead to, as you might say, real science. There's a real output for it. That's fantastic for people to remember that.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Well, thank you very much, Helen. Fantastic. Well, that was a brilliant choice, Helen. Well done. Hadn't heard of those guys before, actually, Belle and Sebastian, but yeah.
So back introduced that, Ben. What was that song?
That was The Party Line by Belle and Sebastian. Fantastic, isn't it?
Good song, yeah.
Choice of Helen's there. Fantastic. And thank you again very much to Helen for coming on the show. Now, I do urge you, if you didn't catch that Twitter handle, you can find it on at UK Ladybirds. And you can also Google the Ladybird survey as well if you're interested. And you can still, as you were saying, you can still get involved with that survey. It's ongoing. And you can download the app and things like this, and you can actually get involved with sending data to Helen's team. So a very big thank you again to Helen Roy for coming on the show, and thank you as well to the Centre for Ecology and Hydrology, for employing Helen, basically. She's absolutely fantastic. Thank you. Right, okay, next up then. We've got, as I was saying, Ian Logie Bird, who is actually the grandson of John Logie Bird, one of the pioneers of television. So fantastic to have this chap on the show. Let's get him on now for you, shall we? And then, well, I'm just going to warn you, he has got a dangerously good taste in music as well. Okay.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, it's just this great thing about having these brilliant guests, right? They just choose the best songs as well. Yeah. Our work's done for us, Sam. We just chill, sit back, right? Have them on, think, oh yeah, that'll do. Just schedule that one in.
Yeah, just
sorted.
Slide that song on.
Yeah, exactly. Easy. Okay, well, a very warm welcome now to Ian Logie Bird. Well, thank you very much indeed for joining me today, good sir. How are you doing?
I'm good. I've just got a fresh coffee here, so it might get faster as time goes on.
That's always good. You know what? I haven't had my coffee yet today. Very, very late. So don't know how this is going to go. Actually, if you hear me falling asleep, it's nothing to do with you or the interview. Okay, no coffee.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you for joining me today. I mean, this is fantastic, isn't it? I mean, 92 years ago, we're talking now. Actually, your grandfather invented the television. Do you think that he had any idea at all how big television was going to get?
I think he had some idea. He was definitely an advocate of the idea that it was going to be bigger than radio.
Yes.
And that it was going to be bigger than the cinema, because it did, encompass the live aspect of radio and the visual aspect of cinema. I think the way that it exceeded both of these media, I'm not sure he would have seen it becoming what it is now, and also the flexibility that's available with the number of channels.
That's it. I mean, we'll come back to the kind of channel point in a second, because as you say, there really are just vast number of things that people can watch nowadays. But I mean, you're just thinking about it at the time, how absolutely fantastic to be part of that very impressive legacy. And you yourself, of course, have been, no surprises at all. Not surprised at all that you went into the same kind of area, didn't you? Not surprised at all, but I wonder, were you instantly captivated by the idea of carrying on thinking about television?
It took a while. Before me, it was really my father who was the family historian who had the interest in TV,
right.
And he did his PhD in engineering,
Fantastic.
Chemical engineering. So he could grasp the technical side. He was very good at the physics, and so he didn't have much trouble with the engineering side. And I came into it after him, obviously, and I'm sort of the representative in this generation of John Logie Baird's grandkids that is the family historian. And it didn't really happen until after university. I just got into collecting old TV sets, and it kind of came through the material culture. I just couldn't stand seeing nice old TV sets being thrown out, I guess.
Yes.
Built up my own collection, and then, once I got into the literature, that was fascinating in itself, and it became a bit more in the paper than the 3D, material objects after that.
Yes, no, that's fantastic. Yeah, I wasn't aware that your father had a PhD in technical engineering. That's fantastic. I'm currently attempting to get a PhD in biosciences at the moment. So thinking about the TV, I mean, of course, it has changed an awful lot now. And thinking about the kind of things that people watched, what was the first thing that kind of was shown on TV? Of course, now we've got a vast number of things which people can watch.
Well, there were various starts, and they are all on the television history timelines. One of them was the first time in the laboratory, and if I tell this story, a lot of people have heard this story, but this was the laboratory experiment where he was working with a ventriloquist dummy's head, which he called Stooky Bill. And the lights were very hot. They just needed a ridiculous amount of light because the photoelectric cell was so insensitive. So the poor Stooky Bill, he didn't mind sitting in front of these hot lights because he wouldn't complain, and he wouldn't move out of position. So he was the ideal test subject, and he looked kind of like a person, so that was good for tuning the equipment to get the best representation of the human face, which was his goal, really, to get a recognizable human face. If he could do that, he'd achieve television. And it was October 2nd, 1925. He looks through and sees for the first time a clear Stooky Bill face on the receiver disc. And he went down and got William Tainton, who was an office boy working downstairs, to come up and sit in front of the apparatus. And he got kind of scared of the spinning wheels because these wheels could fly apart actually any second. And he had to bribe him with half a crown to sit still in the right place so that he could become the first person to be seen via a television system. And only two people saw the pictures because then my grandfather sat in front, and then he went and saw the picture. But that was really the breakthrough that began the first viable television system.
That's incredible, and you think about what that technology led to. It allowed people to, for instance, see images of the moon. I mean, it really is a remarkable technology, and I think at the time you're saying that of course your grandfather was a strong advocate of the fact that it was going to be this big, but really now we're looking back on it and thinking, I think difficult to imagine what life would be without TV, right? We use it for everything, the news, entertainment. Think of all the celebrities that we, kind of use to entertain us and things. A vast majority of those, we wouldn't have a clue who they were if not for television.
Yeah, it's true. It invites people into your living room that you might not otherwise invite into your living room.
Yes.
Somebody once said. And it is, the bringing to hand all Broadway, all of, the theater district, it's all brought into your home at various times. And it's democratizing in a way, because a lot of this wouldn't be accessible to us any other way. It's because it's cost effective and because it is relatively easy to do with the available technology.
Yes.
That it's really enriched our access. And I think sometimes we don't value it enough because we don't have to work hard enough for it. And one of the key things, if you value something, you have to work for it. And if something's too easy, somehow you don't think it is. But convenience, you should value convenience, because we have finite leisure time, and you want to use it to enjoy the shows that you want to see.
Exactly, thinking about that kind of people's precious time and having this access to information. And actually, I think it's in that area particularly, it's probably coming on very rapidly at the moment, isn't it? Because of course, the rise of internet, of the internet and streaming and things like this, and different various devices now. Of course, we don't just have television; people can watch television shows on different devices and things. Where do you think it's going? I mean, do you think it's going towards, if we're talking about shows and entertainment and news and this kind of, traditionally television things, where do you think TV's going? Do you think it's heading towards kind of devices and things like that?
I think that it's going to stay with the, somebody called it the lean forward experience. Marshall McLuhan would call it the involving experience. And then there's the lean back and just the pure experience where it's immersive and you're just lost in the program and you're not involved at all and you're just thinking, I'm just going to lose myself in this film or in this drama.
Yes.
So I think the devices will continue to cover that spectrum, and some people are more attracted to using their phones and being involved, and some people, and chatting about the soap that they're currently watching. And some people just want to sit back at the end of the day, relax and watch a film.
Yes.
So, you have the new entertainment packs that you can get, like the Sky, that Sky has just launched.
Yes.
And they make it easier just to watch and only pay for the things you want, whether they be box sets or kids shows or movies. And that's the type of thing, I think, software that manages our viewing experience on these devices so that it's optimized for the particular person. There's going to be, I think, more of this in the future as well. And the devices, I think, are going to continue to get better. Moore's law still seems to apply, that the microchip continues to double in the number of transistors on the dense integrated circuit every 2 years. So there are going to be lower barriers to these things, lower technical barriers, which means other factors are going to come into play.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I think we'll let you go very shortly, but I just think I think what I'm kind of picking up from your kind of view of it is that it's actually becoming much more personal. We have got almost an infinite number of channels, right, that people could choose. But actually what you're saying is you can, get things like you mentioned Sky's package there, but, you can get basically software to manage it and make it personal, cater it to you so that, you can watch what, you like, essentially.
That's the way it's moving. I mean, McLuhan called it a retribalizing medium because there are those things we all want to watch at the same time, like the moon landing. But where the expansion of the technology is occurring is making the content individual and making it individual in terms of what you want to see and also where and when you want to see it.
Yes.
And the services now that are available, they do, a lot of them they're aiming at not just one device, but they're assuming that you have 2 or 3 devices. And so, if you're on the train, you're going to want to use a laptop or the tablet, and then if you're really on the move, you might want to use your phone. And then, of course, at home, if you're watching particularly a film, you'd want to kind of watch it on the big TV. So it just adapts to lifestyle, which it just makes it a lot more enjoyable, really.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much indeed for your time. I am conscious of time, so I will let you go. One last question for you, though. This is my favourite question now. Moving away from strict television just for a second, I would like to actually offer you a little song request for the show. Do you have any songs off the top of your head that you'd like me to play? Fair enough if not, but...
I have to warn you, I like 70s progressive rock.
That's quite all right. Have you got a particular track in mind or anything?
What can I come up with?
Anything?
How about Yes, Changes?
Oh, excellent. Should definitely get that on for you. Well, thank you very much indeed for your time, so I'll let you go. Thanks for chatting with me today.
Thanks very much.
Goodbye then.
Bye.
Well, thank you very much, Ian. Fantastic to have you on the show.
What song's this again, Ben?
This is Changes by Yes. Bit of prog rock. He did warn me actually about that choice, but there's nothing to warn about. It's fantastic. Yeah. I love that. I tell you what, when those vocals kick in with that cheeky reverb, that's when I thought, oh yes. And we were thinking actually at the beginning that it did sound a little bit like it was Stooky Bill's theme tune, isn't it? Yeah. I think it might have been kind of just a little bit spooky. Well, I tell you what we'll do then. We'll get the next guest on. Okay. Next up is Nick Hewer, of course. Now, Nick is a fantastic gentleman, as we all know. I'm sure we're all familiar with his work. But today, as I said, he's working on behalf of the Financial Conduct Authority, talking about, well, basically how you can look out and just be careful that you don't fall into any traps if you're interested in investment trading online. Okay, and this is talking about things like binary options and Bitcoin. Now, I'm going to own up, I didn't have a clue what binary options meant. Nick is going to explain that to start with, so don't worry. Let's get him on, and then, join us again in the studio afterwards. We have got more guests coming up, and I think you know what, we might just have time, Sam, to because you remember last time, okay,
Yep.
we did a little sports challenge, didn't we?
Yeah.
Thinking about the power of different tracks, okay, inspiring me to exercise, because we had Dr. Costas Karageorgis on, okay, but I was thinking, because we're going to have Susie Chan on in a bit, okay, 12-hour treadmill, record breaker, exactly. So I was thinking, should we just should we see if we can just break a little record in here? Because I tell you what, I bet there isn't a record for longest run in one spot, live on air, whilst presenting a show.
I'll check that when we play the next interview of Nick. I'll look up some good good radio records we could try and break.
Give Guinness World Records a call, mate, because
I'll get him on the line.
I bet you that can be the first record that we break this afternoon. We'll give it a try. I mean, I can't promise that we're going to get anything like 12 hours. I
don't know if we'll last longer than 12 seconds.
12 hours is probably a bit out of question. But if we cheat and just add very specific things, I mean, how specific can you go?
I think they've recently clamped down on that.
Really?
Yeah, because I think everyone was trying to get in by being like the most sugar cubes stacked in 12 seconds underwater.
Yeah. Which is a legitimate record.
I think it's a legitimate record. Yeah. They didn't think that when I said in the video of me.
Yeah. Also, the record was for being called Sam as well, wasn't it?
The most sugar cubes stacked underwater in 30 seconds by a man called Sam. I don't want to compete with women; they'll be better than me.
No, exactly. Right, okay, let's get Nick on the show. Do stay tuned. Join us afterwards. Okay, very warm welcome to Nick. Morning, Nick. Can you hear me? Okay.
I can. Thanks, Ben.
Excellent. Well, a very, very warm welcome to you, sir. Pleasure to be chatting to you this morning. Thank you for your time today.
No, thank you.
I wonder, Nick, if just first of all you could just very briefly just say your name, just so listeners know who they're listening to, and then I'll fire some questions your way if that's okay.
So I'm Nick Hewer, and I represent the Financial Conduct Authority on their Scam Smart campaign to really slow down and stop the scammers taking our money.
Fantastic. Well, very warm welcome to you, Nick. Thanks for joining us today. So let's chat about this most recent study actually that's come out of the Financial Conduct Authority. And this is actually looking at the online presence of fraudsters, right? And it actually looks like recent years, actually, this has overtaken online presence has overtaken phone calls. Actually, is the most common kind of contact point for them. And it looks like, I guess, the worrying thing that you've found, right, is that actually, this is particularly affecting under 25s because these fraudsters can target them via things like social media, which, presumably under 25, we're just super used to, dealing with that kind of media.
Yeah, that's true. But there's another element to it, I think, and that is that it's all about, in a way, gambling. It's about betting. Yes. So we've got the binary options. Now, binary options are fine. And in fact, they have to be regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority, but there are those that don't think they need to bother with all this regulation. These are the ones we've got to be careful of.
Yes.
I mean, in fact, there's a list of something like 90 of them on the Financial Conduct Authority website. Now, what is a binary option? So I've looked into this very carefully, trying to get my head around it. Basically, you bet on the expected value or price of a stock, a commodity, a currency, whatever it is. It's a future thing. But sometimes the future is only 30 seconds away. So they say, now, would you like to bet on what's going to happen with such and such a stock in the next 3 minutes? And you say yes. And if you lose, if you're wrong, you lose your bet. Yes. Okay? That's it. It's gone.
Yep.
So that's the binary option. As I say, proper binary options are fine. They're regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. But the chances, the one that offer you unreasonably high odds and all the rest of it, they're the ones that we're after. And if you go onto the, as I say, the website, and I'll give you the address in a minute, there's a list of 90 of them. But there are lots more. In fact, I got slightly different issue. I got an email the other day. Apparently, I'd been selected. I'd been selected to buy Bitcoins. How marvellous.
Oh,
Why
how
have they
lucky.
selected me? Of course, they've selected hundreds of thousands of other people. And that's why this is so popular now, because you can whack out 100,000 emails
Yes.
in a second and doesn't cost you much. Whereas if you're phoning somebody up and trying to persuade them to invest in some unlicensed, unregulated stock, of course,
Yes.
takes time. Takes
Yes.
time. But I got this wonderful email promising me all sorts of things, How about this? Why haven't you got a holiday home in Hawaii? Pictures of Bentleys and all the rest of it. And they were promising, really. They were saying, what kind of results can you expect? ? And they say that you can typically profit a minimum of £1,300 daily, every day, for putting in 20 minutes. Sounds like a good deal to me. In fact, it sounds too good to be true. What do you think?
Yes, it sounds quite marvellous, if I'm perfectly honest. It's, not too sure.
But it sounds a bit too good to be true, don't you think? Would you go in for that?
Exactly. No, it does.
They let you win, apparently. This is the trade. This is the lure. So you put in 250 quid and you win.
Just out of the kindness of their
that's
hearts.
Good. I've now got £500. Of course, they've got the money. And then they eventually lure you in. Come on, be a big boy. Put in 1,000. Put in 5,000.
Yes.
And suddenly it all goes terribly wrong.
Yes. And Bitcoin, actually, and cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, there seems to be major news at the moment. And I'm personally, I'm a user of Facebook and Instagram and things, and I must say, even just thinking about recent months, I must have seen, loads of adverts for Bitcoin things. I personally managed to ignore them so far, but
well, I mean, Bitcoin's on their own.
Yes,
legitimate thing. I mean, there's a big full page on the back of yesterday's Sunday Times about Parry, the explorer, who put in 5,000 into Bitcoins a couple of years ago. And now he's sitting on £300,000.
yes,
The issue I'm talking about is the dodgy ones who actually
of course, yeah.
you give them the money, but actually don't put them into Bitcoins at all. In fact, they put them in your pocket,
Yes.
and then suddenly they disappear.
That's
the issue.
Yeah, of course.
I mean,
Sorry, there is this, of course, problem where actually, I guess what people really should do is just, as you're saying, all these things are fine, but just be very careful. If it sounds too good to be true, it might well be too good to be true. And what you're saying really is that people should check, and actually there is a way they can check. You were saying that actually you can go on the FCA website, can't you? And you actually can, look to see if these deals or companies that are offering you, these offers, then you can actually check to see if they're likely, legitimate.
Yeah, but also it's, you can be educated on that website. Let me give you the address, because it is very important. Don't be, people shouldn't be a mug. Just check it out. It takes you 2 minutes. It's fca.org.uk.
Excellent.
/Scam Smart, and that's the campaign that I support. fca.org.uk Scam Smart.
Excellent.
And actually there are little films there. There's all sorts of advice to avoid being scammed. And on the binary options alone,
yes,
something like £87,000 a day is being lost. That's 32 million a year.
Yes.
And youngsters can ill afford to lose that sort of money, but they do love gambling. They love gambling on the football and on the cricket. And this is, they think, just another form, really. And what they've got to understand is actually that a lot of them, a lot of the unregulated binary option brigade, maybe are not trustworthy.
Yes. Well, that's an excellent message to get out there for people. Really, just take a bit of caution, and as you say, don't be a mug. Check the information out first. Get educated, and that sounds like a fantastic website for people to visit. As you said, fca.org.uk /Scam Smart, wasn't it? So people can just pop themselves there. Excellent. Well, thank you very much for your time, Nick. That's a fantastic message to get out there today.
My pleasure.
Well, thank you again to Nick Hewer. Thanks for coming on the show. Now, okay, coming up next then, Susie Chan. Record-breaking runner on a treadmill. She's got the record for 12 hours. The distance running 12 hours on treadmill. Now, we were thinking, right, we really, really want to break a record, don't we, Sam? So, here at The Source, we had a great idea.
This is Ben's idea, and it's a really bad idea.
No, it's a great idea, mate. So, I just happened to bring in some tea bags this morning, okay?
Yeah.
And I thought, well, hang on, because you came across that, we've just been browsing through some records. And there's something about most straws stuffed in your mouth, right?
Do you want me to look up what that was?
Yeah, that was quite entertaining. But anyway, what I thought was, even if we just make a Source FM record, if any of the presenters want to challenge us, that's great. But me and you, Sam, here's the showdown, right?
Okay.
Right.
Is there a time limit?
Of course there's a time limit, sir.
What, in a minute? The most tea bags you can get in your mouth in a minute.
Exactly. So I'm going to get the timer.
You can't put like a handful in your mouth, Ben. It's one at a time.
One at a time, yeah. So I'm going to time us a minute, okay? The records that we're going to set today is most tea bags stuffed in a mouth in 1 minute, okay? Are you ready for this, mate?
Yeah, are you going to play a song while we do it so people don't just listen to us going,
no, there's going to be some background music, don't worry. This is our theme tune. Okay, we've got a minute. Okay. Tell me when you're ready.
All right,
you think you're ready?
The straw
Go on,
record.
tell us the straw record, yeah. Then we'll try and
beat the straws. Stuffed in your mouth, the record is 459. So I don't think we're going to get that
one. But
we don't have that many tea bags.
We've got 160 in this pack.
So we've got 80 each.
So yeah, that's
at most. We're not going to get anywhere near that.
I don't know, man.
This is going to taste awful, just so you know.
It'll be fine. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Minute starting. Hang on. Now. Okay, go. Get the tea bags in your mouth, mate. Okay. We didn't quite do the full time there. I think. Well, I was actually full. I think. I was going to throw up.
Don't try this. No,
don't. That was grim. How many did you get, mate?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I got
7. No, really?
What did you get?
6.
Oh, I just got one in at the end, and then I started to gag, so I had to stop.
You're the teabag champion, mate. Well done.
Right. That is a record. Don't try it at home, but if anyone beats that record, or if Guinness want to officiate that record.
So that was 30 seconds, because we couldn't really do any more. Didn't think that through, did we?
The time was pretty pointless.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? It made it feel like there's a more sense of urgency, though, so which you need for a record, I've heard.
God.
You need a real crushing sense of urgency. Oh, okay, yeah, not feeling too good after that, if I'm honest.
That record attempt preceded talking to someone who's a genuine record baker and followed talking to Nick Hewer.
Yeah, we're sorry. On the catch-up, should we just remove that bit entirely?
No. We need to learn from our mistakes.
Yeah, we should probably just leave that section as an example for us always to remember what never to do.
Yep.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, we're really sorry about that. That was all Sam's idea. Okay, let's get Susie on the show now. Enjoy.
My name is Susie Chan, and I'm an endurance runner. I like to run all sorts of distances from 1 mile to over 100 miles.
And as well, let's start off with this fantastic achievement. I think the 12-hour record. That's what you said in 2016. I don't think I could last 12 minutes on a treadmill, actually, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. Let alone 12 hours. Fantastic achievement.
Thank you. It was actually a long day for me. And one of the things I did do to train was actually outside and not on a treadmill, because
yes.
they can they can get a little bit monotonous once you get over about 6 hours, I find.
Yeah, just can imagine you there, just 24-hour just practice sessions, just plodding away. Here we go. Just get people to bring you drinks and food and stuff.
That is exactly what happened. I was being handed cups of tea and donuts and things for about 10 hours in.
And you were actually observed by sports science professionals whilst you were doing this, weren't you? Whilst you were setting that record.
Yeah, so Guinness themselves set very stringent rules which I had to abide by. So I had lots of independent witnesses. I was only allowed, I had to have 2 every 4 hours, so we had a sort of rotation of them. And I think one of the hardest rules they set was that I wasn't actually allowed to touch the treadmill with my hands. So I could only run on it. So if I fell over, it would have been it would have been over.
Yeah,
the attempt would have been over. And I'm naturally quite a clumsy person, so that was quite tough.
So not touching the sides.
Yeah, exactly, non-stop for 12 hours. That was probably one of the hard bits.
Well, let's chat about the findings from this research from Strava then, because Strava's actually a great. I don't personally use Strava, but I keep meaning to start it, and I think January is a good time to get involved with that kind of thing, isn't it?
It's the perfect time. So Strava, it's a fitness tracking app, if you like, and they've got millions of users worldwide, and they've been looking at data, 31.5 million activities which people have uploaded. So those activities can be, run, a swim, a bike ride, people down the gym. And they figured out that Second Friday in January is the biggest percentage drop in activity. So, it's a day when people are going to get a little bit demotivated after having set those January goals.
Yes, and in your own experience, because I'm sure you must have tactics to kind of deal with this swells in motivation, and indeed these kind of troughs in motivation. How do you kind of personally get through it? Helping people out there get through this.
Yeah, it is hard. And I think one key thing that everybody should be mindful of is that it is completely human and normal to have days where it's just harder. It's just harder to do, and you're not quite feeling it. And people don't beat yourself up about it, because everybody has that. Pro athletes will have that. Everybody gets that. So don't get too hung up if you're just not having a good day or a good week. And I mean, I deal with it in lots of different ways. And there's probably two key things which have really, really helped me stay motivated. And one of those is to have a goal, have an achievable goal. So you've got something in mind which you can get to. And when I started running, I couldn't even run a mile, and it was to run a mile without stopping. So, and then once I've achieved that, then set myself another goal, and then before I knew it, I'd entered a race. So that was that's a really great way to sort of mark how well you're doing.
Yes.
And then the other thing is to be part of a community which are sort of all trying to do the same thing. So whether that's, join Strava, which is a fantastic community where you can post your activities and people encourage you and say, well done, and they post photos of themselves training. It's all really, really positive. Or you might want to head down to Parkrun, which is a free initiative. It's a 5K, which you can run or walk, and you'll meet like-minded people there. Or join a run club. I think being part of a positive community, it really, really, really helps.
Fantastic, yeah, and I guess that's the thing, isn't it? Because actually, over at Strava, they actually found that people who did actually set those goals were most likely to actually carry on with it and stick with it.
Yeah, exactly. So those who set a race goal in January, 92% of them were still active 10 months later.
Yes.
So it's a really, really strong statistic there. So I'm not saying everybody has to go out and say, I'm going to run a marathon. You can do if you want to, but even if you want to just I'm going to do a 5K. It's 3 miles, and I'm going to try and do my best. If you set yourself a goal like that, and I can tell you personally, there's nothing better than crossing a finish line, and I think you've done it, you've absolutely done it, and it's really, really motivating.
Yes.
And then Strava also found out that if you're part of a community, then you're going to be 40% more active. The chances are 40% more active if you're part of that positive community.
Fantastic. And I've actually got a funny story about one of my friends who works in the lab. He uses Strava a lot, actually. And what he did once was he thought he'd give us like an update day of like his progress. So what he did, he plotted out loads of graphs and things, and we all sat down. We thought it was going to be some kind of science presentation, but actually it was just about his progress. Fantastic.
Well, I think that's one of the good things. If you put yourself out there and you're showing people what you've done, and then people
exactly.
can say, "Oh, well done," and it's all really, really encouraging.
Yeah, exactly. You came in with this slide like, you got to check out these data. We're like, oh, okay, yeah, let's have a look. And it's like, running times, cool. Fair enough. If anything that helps people keep going, and the community spirit just sounds fantastic. Anyway, you're saying that you can get in touch with other people, you can kind of share progress, photos, all that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and one of the things which is really beneficial to me, because I run a lot, and I run most days, is I've exhausted all those people that are very near to me. They don't want to come and run with me anymore, they're sick of me, so I've managed to connect with new friends and new people, and run new different routes, and all this sort of just adding that bit of variety and meeting, new people has really, really helped me throughout the year to stay up and running.
Fantastic. And the other side, actually, is some other data that you gathered about different kind of average running times and things for cities and things. So this is quite cool. Kind of like a competition getting set up here.
Oh, yeah. So actually, they're global, Strava. They're global. And the UK has done really, really well. What we are fantastic at is run commuting, which is something that I completely endorse. It's much easier than getting the tube. So UK does really, really well at that. And, stats-wise, I think in the UK last year we had 24.7 million runs were uploaded to Strava in the UK alone. So globally, we're really good. We're really, really good.
Fantastic. Well, that's encouraging to know as well. You can become part of that UK community, can't you? If you get up and running, do your bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Susie, I'm going to have to ask you a very, very important question now, and that is, I would really, really like to give you a song choice. Okay. Oh. And I was thinking, do you have any songs that kind of keep you motivated? Do you listen to any music when you're running personally, or?
Do you know? I do. I listen to music when I'm just doing a training one, but I don't listen to it when I'm racing actually, because I have to stay focused. Let me think. I'm gonna go for something quite obvious with "Run" in the title. So how about "Tears for Fears"?
Oh, okay, excellent choice, very good. And one final question then. Just anything else that you'd like to add at all? And also, have you got anywhere where people can go and check out these data? Check out Strava. I guess they can just pop this into Google, and I'm sure they'll find it there.
Yeah, have a little Google. You can Google me. I'm Susie Chan. That's SUSIE. You can come and approach me if you have any questions about anything you've heard. Or
Fantastic.
Strava are super easy to find. Strava.com. Download the app. It's free. Become part of the community. It's fantastic.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for your time, Susie. I'll let you go. Have a cracking rest of the day. Thanks for your time.
Okay. Cheers. Thanks. Bye.
I was thinking, mate, quick call for Dan might be good, wouldn't it? Have you got ready with the censorship bell, just in case? Okay,
yeah, well, I'm on there. So we're just checking to see what Dan's been up to.
Yeah. Is he going to answer? Do you think he's going to think?
I think he's too clever to answer.
I think he knew that we were trying to reach out to him for comments.
Yeah.
Welcome to the EE voicemail. I'm sorry.
Quick message?
You can leave him a message. Just be like, if you want to be on air, give us a call back.
After the tone. After you finish your message, just hang up.
Okay.
Or to hear more options, please press 1.
God, we've sunk.
Good morning, Mr. Padfield. If you would care to be on Source FM live right now, please give us a call back. Thank you. Any final words from my fabulous
Ben, why have you put on a
co-assistant
funny
here?
voice?
Why have you not? That's the question. Now he knows it's us, mate. Oh. Okay. Well, anyway, we'll I thought one final try to get through to him.
You thought that your funny voice, even though you're calling from your phone, was going to be enough to to sway him.
Well, I thought, I don't know, maybe it would just push him just a bit over the edge into doing it. Anyway, right, okay, so let's get Jeffrey on the show now, and I'm afraid, we are going to have to take a bit of a sad tone now to the show, because this really is quite a horrific issue, actually, that I personally wasn't aware of at all, and I came across this release from their company, his charity, and I think this is quite a depressing news to hear about, really, but I think, very, very much worth getting out there for people, so do stay tuned, and join us back in the studio afterwards, and we will unfortunately have to wrap up the show at that point, but we will play you a last couple of tunes, of course. Okay, over to Jeffrey. Welcome, Jeffrey. Thanks for joining us this morning.
My name is Jeffrey Dennis. I'm the Chief Executive of Sparna.
Excellent. A very warm welcome to you, Jeffrey. And this is fantastic that you can be here today, actually, to talk to us a little bit. And I was, very interested to see this release from yourselves and these survey data. And I think this is a problem that we come across all the time. I'm associated with the University of Exeter's Penryn campus, and we really care about conservation down at this campus. So, fascinating to hear from yourself. And I think, this is one of those problems, isn't it? That I think, a lot of people assume, or certainly people are beginning to know more and care more, at least, about conservational issues. But really, there's just so much more to learn. And I have to admit, actually, straight away, that I hadn't heard of this issue. So it's fantastic there are people like yourself out there bringing these issues like this to the limelight, really. And I'll just let you take away just for a minute and just explain this survey data, if that's okay, and maybe talk a little bit about this issue.
Yes, I mean, a lot of people in the UK and a lot of people in the world understand the issues with elephants and rhinos and tigers and so on. People don't understand the issue with this particular issue, which is donkeys.
Yes.
Basically, there is a demand from China for donkey, it's actually beauty products and traditional medicine, which is made out of donkey skins. And it's gelatine called e-gel, which comes from donkey skins. Now, since the late 1990s, the population of donkeys in China has gone down to about half. It's gone down to about 5 million, and it was originally 11 million. So what's happening is there's a greater demand on bringing in donkeys from other countries, particularly African countries. Now, there are two issues here. One of them is that it is extremely cruel to the donkeys. Yes. And the second one is that there are large amounts of the world, 1 billion people in total, that rely on working animals, including donkeys, for their livelihoods. Yes. So if you take away the donkeys, they actually don't have a livelihood anymore.
Yes, and this is an awful issue actually, and those figures that you're giving us actually are really stark and really upsetting. And you know, I guess the shocking bit is that just how few people had heard of this, you know, previous to yourself making an effort to make this well known, which is absolutely fantastic. And you were saying there that a lot of people are aware of, if you like, the more media friendly. Sorry to call them that, but the more media-friendly sort of animals like elephants and tigers and things. And do you think this is like a more general issue that's underlying here? That thinking about, I guess it's difficult for media corporations, things like this, to include animals which they don't see as bringing them more views.
Yes, I mean, I think one of the issues is that donkeys tend to kind of come from the bottom of the pile in a way. I mean, people think, in some countries they think, well, they're cheapish animals and so on and so on. Actually, people don't understand donkeys. They are very loving and very trusting animals. So the interesting thing is that if you get a group of donkeys together, they will actually go around in pairs for their life. They are very, very sweet animals. Now, what's happening here is that because of this trade, which has not been proved scientifically, there's no evidence to say that it actually works as cosmetics and other things, but because of this, there is a rapid reduction on the number of donkeys in many countries, particularly in Africa. And they're very cruel to them. First of all, they're loaded very roughly into vehicles. So they're thrown into the back of vehicles, which is just appalling. And I have stopped many people doing that. And secondly, in order to get the skins from the donkeys, it is easier if you actually starve the donkeys. So there are many countries in the world where people are not feeding their donkeys for day after day after day. Now, what are we in Spana, my organisation, doing about it? First of all, we're working with governments to ban this trade, and that's been pretty effective. Yes. There are 10 African countries now where there is a total ban on this, but of course there is still an issue because then some of it goes underground and some of them are stolen. So the second thing we're doing is working with communities and owners to actually give them advice on things like security so that they can look after their donkeys better.
Yes, and is there anything that this is absolutely fantastic work that you're doing. So really want to thank you for doing this work. But is there anything that we can do? The public listening today in the UK can do to, well, I suppose firstly ensure that they can stay away from products like that. This particular product you're saying, e-gel. I'm not sure if this is available at all, or if it would be available for people here. But if it is, stay well away from it. And also, is there any other?
Yes, it has been available in the UK.
Right.
We've actually, with partners, talked to a number of manufacturers in the UK, and that's now been stopped, which is
fantastic.
Good. So largely speaking, it's not too big an issue in the UK.
Yes.
Basically, what can people do? I mean, first of all, just please visit our website. It's Spana, S-P-A-N-A, and on there is a video explaining the whole situation. It's quite a disturbing video to watch, but it shows what's actually happening. And then people can help us in raising the issue. We are a very practical, which I think is great as a charity. We're a very practical, on-the-ground charity. We do veterinary work, and we do education of communities and education in schools about working animals. So we don't tend to do very much on things like policy and advocacy. I actually like that. I think it's far better that we're an effective charity. But if you get an opportunity to go to our website and help us promote this particular very, very serious issue, that's fantastic. And then obviously if people wanted to then help us with things like, help us fund some of our veterinary work or our education work or the work that we're doing with communities on security, that would be absolutely fantastic. But please do visit our website.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much indeed, Jeffrey. So just to reiterate that, on the website, Spana, very simply SPANA for people to find out. And there's that video that you're saying about this particular, quite horrendous, actually, donkey issue, which it sounds like you've been doing some fantastic work already. So I do urge people to, support further your work. I wonder, Jeffrey, if we could finish just with a quick question to you, and that would just be. I'd actually be really interested, and of course you don't have to answer this at all, but I'd just be really interested just to hear, perhaps some of your own personal reasons for going into this line of work. I think it's great to hear from people like yourself who hopefully can inspire others to follow suit.
Yes, first of all, I'm an economist by training. I started off working in the commercial sector as a consultant, and I became chief executive of a very large consultancy company, mostly engineers. Yes. I went to Bangladesh and I saw sites in some of the shanty areas there which were just appalling, and I came back and I said to my friends and my then girlfriend, now wife, actually what I want to do in life is to work for a charity. I worked for the Red Cross for many years. I was the international director of the British Red Cross, and then I worked overseas in many countries in disaster situations. And I remember one country, which was in northern Africa, in Niger. I was there during a very serious drought situation, helping people. And many people were saying to me, but look, there are animals dying all over the place. Can't we do anything to help them? So I think there are two things. One is that I do care very much about animals anyway. But the second thing is that in supporting the animals, you're actually supporting the communities that rely totally on those animals for their livelihoods. And they tend to be the poorest communities. And my final point is that I am a great believer that the vast majority of the people in the world are not deliberately cruel to animals. They actually don't understand how to look after them properly. So that's the education work that we can do.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much indeed, Jeffrey, and thank you for that story as well. I think that's very inspirational for anybody out there listening in. So thank you very much. I will let you go. Is there anything else at all that you would like to add, though, before we close up?
Not at all. I would just encourage people to go to our website. You'll learn a lot more about us.
Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed, Jeffrey. I'll let you go. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much indeed. Bye then.
And I would just like to, very briefly say thank you again to Jeffrey for coming on the show. And I do urge you to go and check out his website over at Spana if you'd like to learn a bit more about his work. That to me sounds absolutely fantastic and well worth supporting, actually, well worth finding out a bit more about. And right, that does bring us to the end of the show this week. I'd just like to, again, thank all of our very special guests this time. Thank you very much to Professor Helen Roy, who we had at the beginning talking about her work on ladybirds and also citizen science and how everybody can get involved with science. That was a really fantastic interview. Thank you to Helen, and thank you very much to Ian Logie Baird, the grandson of John, of course, one of the pioneers of television. It was fantastic having Ian on the show to talk a little bit about that. Then thank you to Nick Hewer. We were delighted to have Nick grace our airwaves today, talking about this warning from the FCA. So you can always check up on that. Just find the Financial Conduct Authority or the FCA website if you want to learn more about that. Thank you to Susie Chan. Absolutely fantastic record breaker. We're delighted to chat to you today as well. She broke the record actually for distance run in 12 hours on a treadmill. And thank you again to Jeffrey, who we've just had on now. Jeffrey Dennis, the CEO of his charity Spana. Right, we've also, just to finish up with as well, had a message from Dan. He did get back to us. His excuse for not answering, Sam, I'm not sure. Do you buy this? I'm not sure I do. Apparently he was in the shower.
Apparently he was in the shower. I'm not sure. He also says it's shorts weather outside, but as both trained weather professionals, we can say it's definitely not shorts weather.
We would strongly advise against, wouldn't we? I mean, Dan might disagree, but
I've never seen Dan not wear shorts.
No.
Which means all weather is shorts weather to Dan.
Yeah, exactly. Don't trust him when it comes to weather. He's a very, very, very clever man, but don't trust him when it comes to weather. Just don't.
Or whether he's in the shower or not.
Yeah, that's definitely
lies.
Mysterious, that, isn't it? About a second after. Oh dear, I seem to have missed it. Oh yeah. I'm very happy that you could join us, though. Thanks for joining us. Do join us next Thursday, 7:30 to 9 o'clock. Stay tuned to Source FM, though. Plenty more shows coming up today. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, all that's left to do, Sam, is select a parting song.
A parting song.
Yes, a parting song. Now, what should... Now, this has got to be a good one, hasn't it? To finish the show with. I'm just having a look around, actually. You can see me...
Browsing.
I mean, we did have we already had a bit of Marvin Gaye. We can't really do that again. We played Rod Stewart at the beginning. I mean, we could go with a bit of Bowie.
Yeah.
Because I tell you what, we were talking with Ian Logie Baird about the television, and actually one of my points was just think of what television's brought us. It brought us coverage of the Apollo mission, for instance, and actually this Space Oddity, of course, is really the only song that we could play if we're thinking about that, because of course it was released at the same time as well. So fantastic. Maybe we should just finish up with that. What do you think?
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. Well, Sam, let's say goodbye. Thank you for joining us, everybody.
Thanks for listening.